Hi there, welcome to the fourth part of my data science roadmap video series, guys. In this particular series, I have shared 3 videos in which I have covered 9 steps out of my 12 steps data science roadmap. So, guys, if you have not watched those 3 videos, I would suggest please go and watch them first so that you can follow this particular roadmap in a proper manner. Now, in this particular video, guys, I am going to share the 10th step of my data science roadmap, which will introduce a new technology and skill set which is required to become data scientist, and that is big data. Now, what we will do, we'll start with the definition of big data, then I'll introduce the different dimensions which are involved related to the big data, and then we will talk about the different technologies which we cover under big data umbrella, right? And at the end, I'll introduce which course or specialization you can do to learn about big data. Throughout the video, I will share a lot of mind-boggling numbers with you guys related to the big data, like what happens over social media or over internet in just 1 minute. So just stay tuned till the end, guys. You will learn a lot related to the big data, and this is very critical aspect of data science, because when I was working in Siemens as a data analyst, I used big data tools like Hadoop. When I was working in Infosys as business analyst, I used these big data tools, guys. And currently also in my current company, I am using big data tools like PySpark. So definitely, guys, very important aspect of data science. You have to learn. I'll share tips and tricks like which technologies to focus on and which you can avoid, because there are more than 20 plus technology which comes under Hadoop umbrella or big data umbrella. You do not have to cover all of them. That's what I am going to share in this particular video, guys. So watch till the end. And if you have not subscribed the channel, guys, and you want to become data scientist, you want to learn about machine learning, artificial intelligence, then definitely subscribe the channel, guys, so that you do not miss out all those videos coming in the future. So let's get started with the definition of big data, guys. Lot of students believe that the big data is the data set which is huge in size, maybe like in GBs or TBs, but that's not the correct definition of big data, guys. Let's understand it from the Wikipedia. So now, as per Wikipedia, big data primarily refers to the data set which is quite large and complex and cannot be dealt with the traditional software we had. Now, when we talk about the software, guys, we are talking from two perspectives, because there are always application of a software. Now, when we are talking about softwares, we are talking from two perspectives. One is from the storage perspective, the traditional software which we were using to store the data, and the second is to process the data, guys, because ultimately what we want to process the data so that we can get insight out of it. Now, for storage, in the traditional software which we are talking is RDBMS, right? So RDBMS is relational database management system, which is quietly or widely used to store relational data, or you can say structured data, right? So structured data, the data which can be stored in the form of rows and columns, right? Like Excel data, rows and columns format. Now, what we are saying that we cannot store the big data in RDBMS. Now, there are a lot of reasons behind that we will talk in a while, right? Now, let's talk about the second part, which is talking about the processing of the data. Now, from the processing perspective, the traditional applications or the software or the tools we were using can be Excel, it can be R programming language, or it can be Python programming language. So these type of tools, we cannot use them to process the big data, right? So these are our traditional tools which we cannot use to process our big data. Why? Now, to understand that why term, there are 3 different dimensions of the big data we need to understand. Now let's move to the dimensions of big data. All of us knows about the volume, but apart of that, there are a lot of dimensions, guys. 2 of them I have mentioned, variety and velocity. Apart of this, there are other dimensions as well, like value, veracity, lot of them. But these are the three basics dimensions of big data. Everybody should know. Okay. So now I think volume part is clear to everyone, that the size is huge, that we cannot process it in Excel. In Excel, we can process a data set which is having rows less than 10 lakh. And trust me, guys, even if you try to process or do some functionality or operation on top of data with like 5 lakh of rows, your Excel will be very slow. Now, the size goes beyond 10 lakh of rows, then we move to the softwares like R programming language or Python programming language. So now in that case also there are limitations, because limitations are from the RAM perspective. In our systems, like in our laptop or in our general systems, we have 16 GB RAM, 32 GB RAM or 64 GB RAM, or let's say you have 1 TB RAM, right? So if your data set is beyond 1 TB, you cannot process them using R or Python. That is why. So volume is one of the critical aspect of big data which we cannot deal using our traditional softwares. I hope this is clear. Now velocity, the rate at which we are generating the data. Now to understand the velocity and the variety, as you know guys, there are three type of data, right? Structured data, then we have unstructured data, and then semi-structured data, right? So structured data I already talked, rows and columns. Unstructured data are like audio files, right? Text files or images or videos, all of them, right? So those type of data belongs to the unstructured type. Now semi-structured are like XML or HTML, like that, right? So now based on the statistics, if I say guys, there are more than like 80% of the data which is available in the market, in the industry, is unstructured. Earlier we did not have the softwares to process it, but now we have softwares to process the data, guys, process the unstructured data, right? So now to process, we need new tools as well as new technologies to tackle these kind of unstructured data. Okay, so now let's understand the velocity and variety as well as the volume part through one picture which will blow your mind, guys. Now let's understand this, that what happens over internet or over social media in just 1 minute. Okay, so let me just remove this. Okay, so now if we talk about what happens over internet in just 1 minute, guys, it will blow your mind. Just look at these numbers. So if I talk about, let's say, Instagram, more than 66,000 photos and videos are being shared on Instagram in just 1 minute, guys. 66,000. Just imagine the number. Now let's go to the Twitter. 575,000 plus tweets are being shared over Twitter in just 1 minute. Just imagine the amount of data we are generating over internet, guys. Now when you are tweeting, it's just a tweet for you, but when you talk about the Twitter, guys, definitely it's the data, your data which you are sharing. You are sharing your interest in that form of tweet, right? Now if I talk about, let's say, Netflix, another OTT platform, amazing platform, 452,000 plus hours of content is being watched or streamed on Netflix in 1 minute. Now imagine, guys, how much data Netflix is getting, users data, and that data is being used by Netflix to provide the best recommendation for the user. Now on YouTube, 3.67 million YouTube videos are being watched in just 1 minute. I'm talking about, guys, right? Just these numbers are just like huge numbers, guys, right? So over Gmail, 231 million plus mail are being shared or sent, right? These are huge numbers, guys. On LinkedIn, 20.8 thousand active users are on LinkedIn at every moment. Similarly, on Facebook, every moment 2.1 million people are active. So just imagine the number, guys. These are like huge numbers, right? So now this is providing you the idea on the velocity, the rate at which we are generating the data. Similarly, the variety part, because you talk about the images, how much images and videos we are sharing, then tweets, which is nothing but a text data. Similarly, if we talk about the Netflix, where we have the videos data, right? Similarly, YouTube videos data, and there also like comments, the post, everything, like most of the data is being stored in the form of text only, right? So the variety also part we have covered through this particular image, right? So now I hope you have clear picture on the big data. Volume is just one part of it, but the size, the way, the rate at which it is growing, that is also very high. And as well as not just structured data, we need to store and process the unstructured data as well, right? So now that is the big data, guys. I hope this part is clear. Now, if I talk about like big data, like early 2000s, this big data problem arrived, or people started thinking about it. They previous that also, like there people were talking about the big data problem, but no one was working on the solution of it. So in 2003, Google introduced or published one white paper which was talking about two technologies, one for the storing big data, another one was for the processing. So it talked about two different technologies. So one was HDFS, Hadoop distributed file system, to store the data, and for the processing it was MapReduce, right? And it was introduced by Google, guys. Okay, because Google was solving the search problem at that point of time. Now, this is basically, these all comes under a technology name, that is Hadoop, guys. Okay, so now what you need to do to learn about big data, guys, there are a lot of tools out there. So this, just look at this particular slide. This will give you an idea how many technologies are there which comes under big data umbrella, guys, right? So now you do not have to learn all of them. You do not have to worry about all of them from the data science perspective. If you are learning, if you want to go into the data engineering field, then definitely, guys, you have to learn lot more technologies. But what I'm talking about is data science. So from data scientist perspective, you have to learn, I would say, 3 or 4 technologies. One is your, first get yourself comfortable with HDFS and MapReduce. Not MapReduce in like in detail, but you should know how this Hadoop cluster it works. Okay, so just get the basic out of like how we create the cluster, how they share the data, how it's stored. Basic understanding of that is required, right? So from the storage perspective, it's HDFS, and plus we already talked about SQL, guys. SQL like query language we use in big data also, that is HQL. So you do not have to explicitly learn HQL because you already learned about SQL, guys, right? So SQL is again very important because it's also a part of your big data umbrella, right? So from the storage perspective, this is fine, guys. A part of it, if you want to learn NoSQL databases, for data engineer, it's very important. You can learn about MongoDB or Cassandra. These are NoSQL databases, which means which are not just used for the relational or structured data. So Cassandra and MongoDB, right? But from the processing perspective, guys, I would suggest, which is the current major player in the market, that is Spark, guys. Okay, so HDFS, then SQL, just make yourself comfortable with SQL. Then for the processing, you can use SQL as well as Apache Spark, guys. The beautiful, the power of Spark is you can use multiple languages. So Apache Spark is built around Scala language, but you can use Python. That integration we call it as PySpark, right? Similarly, R Spark also, I mean R plus Spark you can use, which is nothing but Spark R, right? You can, if you are comfortable with Java, you can use Java as well, right? So that's the power of Spark. So I would suggest learn about Apache Spark, how things work in Apache Spark, what is RDD and all those keywords which are there in the Apache Spark. Just get comfortable with that. Nothing else you need to learn related to the data science perspective, guys. Okay, that's more than enough. In my experience, I have used this Apache Spark in my current organization, in my previous organizations. So that's why I am suggesting, based on my 6 years of experience of 6 different companies, these are the tools you need from the big data perspective. right? Okay, now let's move to the from where you can learn, right? So guys, you can learn big data from a specialization available on Coursera. So now if you go to the website, so big data specialization Coursera, the first link you will get, just check that out. So now you can see the overall rating of that particular specialization is 4.5, and that is given by more than 9,000 students. So you can trust this particular specialization, guys, right? Now you can enroll from there, and then you can audit this particular specialization. There are more than six, there are six courses in this particular specialization. So what I would suggest, guys, I have been like into all of these courses, so I know about all of them. So I would say for all the freshers who want to like get into the big data world from the data science perspective, right? So you can learn, you have to complete the first course, introduction to big data. It will give you a clear picture about the big data and big data tools. So you can see, describe the big data landscape. There are a lot of technology which comes under this. Then there are a lot of V's, the dimensions of big data. Three of them we discussed in this particular video, right? But there are more than those three, right? It will talk about that. Then it will talk about the solution part of it, like Hadoop, and it will help you to install Hadoop in your system. Okay, so I would suggest go ahead with the first introduction to big data course. Second and third are more important from the data engineering perspective, because big data solutions or Hadoop clusters, that is fundamental for all the data engineers, right? So now this will talk about how you can integrate the different sources into your big data cluster, right? So now you can avoid, if you are learning big data from the data science perspective, you can avoid second and third course. You can directly move to the machine learning with big data, right? The fourth one. So now it will talk about the Spark tool, which presents under the umbrella of big data that we have already talked about, right? And it will give you a clear picture that there is a library MLlib, which is having the models or algorithms, ML algorithms, which you can use. It will tell you how you can use them, and definitely you will be able to, by end of this course, you will be able to implement machine learning algorithms on big data tools using Spark, right? And the final, the sixth one, complete that as well. This is a capstone project basically. It will be a hands-on thing. So I definitely suggest you to go through these three courses from the data science perspective. Thanks for watching till the end. If you like the content, guys, please like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe the channel if you have not subscribed so far. Thank you.